and welcome back to another Date with the Divas. We aspire to bring you quality and engaging content regarding hot topics, your favorite celebrities, fashion, and all of that. Everything in this video is alleged and presented in the most biased and opinionated way. We want you, our loyal subscribers, to jump down in those comments and share your opinions. And if you haven't subscribed, please click on that subscribe button, like our videos, and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Date with the Divas, and on Twitter, Date W the Divas. Now, for the best part, let me introduce you to the Divas. We have Lavelle.
Ching ching. Good evening, Divas.
We have Nicole.
Good evening.
We have Michelle.
Cheers.
I like that. And we have Marnita.
Cheers.
We have Marilyn.
Evening, Divas.
I won't forget her ever again. We have Andres.
Salamanti, divas.
We have Ms. Lava.
Hey, hey.
And we got Alicia.
Hi.
And then, of course, we got me. We got all the divas for you guys tonight. Now, what do we have?
All the divas.
What do we have tonight?
All right. Well, first off, divas, I want to start off by saying Happy New Year.
Happy
Our
New Year.
first recording of 2023, and Happy New Year to all of our viewers. So, we wrapped up the holidays. The holidays is a perfect time for binge watching. So we divas all decided to sit down and binge watch The Best Man final chapters. So divas, what'd you think?
Thumbs up for me. I love it.
I loved it.
You loved it? Okay.
I loved it.
Okay.
I'll put it in the middle.
Okay.
There's some
Okay.
episodes that could have
I
done
wanted a little
without.
tension.
Yeah, there's some episodes that could have done without. There's some episodes that could have combined.
Exactly. There's some stuff I needed them to say. There's some stuff I needed them to just go about their business.
Right.
Overall, yes, I agree with everybody what they said.
Okay.
I
And
feel want
they
to
hit a
get
lot
into
of-
it, but in general.
And
Okay.
hit a lot of interesting topics.
Okay.
And now topics.
Yeah, very
Mhm.
true. Very true.
Yes, very
Anybody
current.
else thoughts?
I loved it. 10s across the board for me.
Okay. 10
at
across
you.
the board.
Some people are easy to please.
Oh,
Shots fired. Shots
fighting
fired.
words.
I sensed that Alicia was not a fan to begin with. She was like, "Why are you watching this thing?"
So,
She was
Alicia,
trying to get-
did you like the movies?
Yeah, I did. I did like the movies. I had to rewatch the Best Holiday just to remember because it was like half a decade ago. So
Well, I mean, the Best Man was like before that. So
exactly.
yeah, I ended up watching them again too, just because I was like, there were things that I forgot. And just side note, the soundtrack on the first one was bumping. But okay, so yeah. So we all watch. I know there's some messy stuff we want to get into as far as like wardrobe. Okay, yeah. So I ended up rewatching both the movies as well. And just a side note, the soundtrack for the first one was bumping. But anyway, that wasn't our assignment. Our assignment was to watch the Best Man final chapter. So I know y'all got some messy stuff y'all want to get into as far as wardrobe and style choices. Let's save the mess for a bit and let's talk about the storyline. All right, so we pick up Michelle, if you would so kindly show us the picture of the cast.
Now, granted, we need to say, like, if you haven't watched it, I'm gonna need for y'all to watch it.
Yeah,
But there's gonna be some stuff in here.
There will be
we're not
spoilers.
holding back. We've all watched. I think we've all watched. If those of us who probably didn't watch gonna act like we watched. So thank you for reminding me, Lava. There's gonna be some spoilers in here. Like we can't talk about it without talking about it. So we pick up with our friends from 1999 was when the first movie came out. So we have Morris Chestnut as Lance, Melissa De Sosu as Shelby. We have Tay Diggs as Harper, or Harp, as they call him. Regina Hall as Candace. Terrence Howard as Quentin or Q. We have Sanaya Lathan as Robin, Nia Long as Jordan, and I'm so sorry, I forgot.
Harold.
Daryl. Say it again.
Papa knew.
Daryl Papanew.
Harold.
Harold Papanew as Murch. What was his first name? Damn, Julian Murchison.
Julian.
You know what? That's
Julian
true. Yeah, because in the
Murchison.
first one, Shelby always said, Julian. But everyone called him Murch.
Yes, but everybody calls him Murch. So we pick up with these characters. Like I said, we first met them in 1999 for the first movie, The Best Man. And then we picked up with them in 2013, I believe, for The Best Man Holiday. And now we come into this series, The Best Man Final Chapters, just kind of telling us what the gang's been up to and kind of taking us through their future.
What I thought was interesting was I don't know if you guys noticed that episodes 1 and 2 are basically the third movie, because they pick up right where the second movie, The Best Man Holiday, leaves
Yes.
off,
Right.
with Quentin
Yes.
calling the guy Sam
Right.
getting married. So episodes 1 and 2, I felt like was the third movie, because
I
it
didn't even
Right.
think of it like that.
finalized that part of their lives.
Right.
I
And then
felt
we
like
moved on.
Years later. Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
I did appreciate the montage at the very first, at the beginning of the first episode, because I have not seen either of the preceding movies.
Oh, you're missing out.
So it was,
It's a hoot. You should watch them. It's a hoot.
but I mean, I got the gist of it in that, like, I don't know, minute or two where they just
Yeah.
run through everything.
I appreciate that too. And I've seen both movies
Yes.
like multiple times, but just to have that in your face so you can kind of remember those key moments that they're going to pick up on. So I really appreciated that.
And I also appreciate the calendar that they had, like when they kind of like showed you the progression. So you kind of got a
Right.
feel
Yeah,
of
like
what,
that.
what time
Yeah,
had
I
passed.
appreciated that. And I wish they would have done more of that towards the end also, because I was like starting to get a little lost at where they were time-wise.
Time started to fly in the last episode.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of series do that now. I think it's just like the episode
Wrap
cap.
it
It's
up.
like, oh, okay. Now all this stuff that we've talked about has happened, and we're like, we have to assume how many years into the future. So let me
Well, I
ask you
told you
guys.
2024.
Oh,
Yeah, they
that's true.
did. That was the
they
last.
did.
That was the
They
last.
started
date
off
that
with
they
him
did.
in the beginning, with Harper in the beginning, and they ended with him in the end with the
Yeah.
beginning.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about
2024.
that. Okay. I
Yeah,
forgot
that was the
about
last year that they gave you.
Right. Which seems so far in the future when I was watching it in 2022.
Maybe it'll help for when, if they continue on, because they have final chapters to,
Right.
you never know.
So let me ask you guys about the characters. With the different character development, was there any characters that you liked that you didn't like in the first movies, or vice versa, that you maybe didn't like them in the first movies and now you like them? Or with the first movie coming out in 1999, were there any like life experiences that you've been through that made you look at any of the characters differently?
Well, I will start off by saying I didn't like the fact that they did not develop Jordan to the full. I felt like they kind of like left her where she was. She
But they
remained
left it like
independent.
that in all
Agree.
three of the
In
films.
all three movies, there was truly no progression. When you thought that she was going to have a progression, she got a man and she was with somebody, and you know she's going to change. Then it would just revert back, and it was like this flat line for me. And every time you would get like a pulse, it would kind of like die, And then you realize, okay, that she was very heavily involved with the children and raising Lance's children. Lance and oh my God, what was her name?
Mia.
Mia's children. That okay, she had purpose, besides work, and they did not delve into it, only a little bit with Lance's son,
Right.
LJ, but
And
other
which
than that-
he was at her job.
yeah,
Right.
exactly.
That was her
You know,
character, though. She was all about work. That was her character.
Yeah.
I get that, but I
But
wanted
for
it
8
to be-
episodes, for 8 hours, Nicole, progression still needs to happen. You know what I mean? Like, come on.
It's like
Okay,
She
Alicia,
did.
we
She
know
started
8
finding
hours.
herself,
Okay.
just finding herself with meditation and doing that. When she left that space, with finding a balance, and then she, left the company. Sorry to skip. Spoiler alert.
No,
You know.
like I said, we're gonna talk about it.
Yeah, I did like
Yeah.
that part, Marilyn, about her work progression. I like that, but her personal life, they did her dirty. It's like, what do you got to do a successful
don't-
black woman dirty in these movies, huh?
It's not dirty though, if you think about it. I mean, take a step back. How many professional black women do you know? I mean, who are in that same situation? I mean,
Are still in
just
that
being
situation.
realistic.
It's her character. The writer
Yeah.
gets to write the character the way he wants it.
Yes,
That's the way
and
she was.
we can voice
can.
our opinion as to we
About-
feel
Thank
that she
you,
was
Joe.
not developed.
And
I
I'm voicing
actually
mine.
thought
I'm
that
saying the
Jordan-
writer gets to write the way he wants.
I actually
That's
thought Jordan had the best life out of all of them. I thought she was
No,
the
she did. She was
happiest.
I
miserable.
mean, the part that I highly disliked was this whole, okay, I thought she moved on from Harper. This whole backpedaling with Harper thing, like why?
Oh yeah,
No,
that
they were
that-
soulmates.
They're soulmates.
Yeah.
Why is she befriending
They
his
were
wife then?
convenient
Why are
to each
you
other.
making best friends
Because
with
they're-
her?
Hey, ladies,
no
one at a time,
regardless
please,
if
because
you're
I can't
soul-
hear.
Sorry. Regardless if you're soulmates, if you realize that like he had moved on, they've been friends from high school. You're not going to just end that friendship long as they didn't cross any lines after that point. So I don't think it's not that she shouldn't be friends, that this woman now in theory is going to be in their circle because whenever they hang out, she's going to be around. So I can't say you can't be her friend. I mean, I think that's just normal.
But at The the one end, when thing that's Harper's consi- talking, remember he said sometimes you end up where you should have been in the first place.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. So
The
do you
one-
guys think that they ever like their flame
Yes.
ever went out for each other or
No.
Yeah.
okay?
What was the question, Manita?
I was asking, do you
flame.
guys think that Harper and Jordan's flame ever went out? Like, do you
No,
think that they always carried a flame for
they always
for each
did.
other?
But he should have divorced his wife way earlier. Like, I
and
knew
I
that-
think
He
that
should have
also
never asked her to
supports
marry him.
tension
Right.
in his marriage that what's the wife's name?
Robin.
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 I always felt like she was chasing that Jordan figure in his
Yeah.
She was
life,
always chasing something.
trying to be his Jordan, and that
Yeah.
wasn't who she really was. And so she finally just gave up on that and was just like, I'm gonna go do me now.
Me.
took
Yeah.
too long to get there.
The one thing that
She
we
did,
can
and she did
agree
well.
upon with all the movies and the final chapters are that the characters loved one another, were very supportive of one another. That
for
did
sure.
not change.
Yeah.
Even when they were pissed off at one another, they were still there for
Right.
one
And
another.
I love
Yeah.
seeing
Each
that
other out.
in the end, that it was like, okay, we've all found a place of peace, even
Mhm,
Robin and Hart. It was like,
mhm.
even after the scene that we saw them together, you know, before that, they were yelling at each other and calling each other names and all that. And then they got to a place where they like, we're still like, I love you. You're doing right by our child. We're like, you know, we're going to figure this out. So I really appreciated that. And then even the end where Herb was like, where he was depressed and the guys just came in and set up a
Yes,
Mhm.
that was
That was
beautiful.
nice.
That was
That was
a beautiful
beautiful.
scene. And the way
Yeah.
they did it, so casual, the way dudes really would.
Right.
Yes, right. It was
You
just
Yeah.
let me open the door, and they just started putting everything together.
Yeah.
There was no
Because
talking.
if
Even
there
the way
was girls,
Merch
we'd be like, "Oh, girl, you okay? Are you all right?"
Merch looked at him
Yeah.
like, oh, hi, Harp. Like, you here? Like, yeah, it's my house.
They always like, are you in? Are you in?
Yeah.
Come on.
They talking about we need a fourth. Like, you in my house.
Thank you.
The one character I did not like throughout this whole thing, well, there were two actually. I didn't particularly care for Jordan, but I did not like Harper at all in any of the movies.
Harper was trash. I just
Yes.
realized that
Selfish.
recently.
Spineless and
Very
selfish.
selfish.
Yes.
Very
Very
selfish.
selfish.
Oh, wait, Andres, what are your thoughts?
Harper is the protagonist of the. What do you mean?
Who cares?
He starts all the mess. Like,
He's
But
the glue.
I mean,
He's
who
the
said that?
glue
Said
of
it
the
best.
story.
I think was it Lance that said it to him, or maybe it was Merch.
was
I think it was
Merch.
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 Was Merch.
Merch.
He was
Merch
like, you
and,
want to
what's his
yourself.
name said it too.
But Lance had said it in the movies to Harper.
Right.
Right.
And it's
Like
like-
basically, you
Yeah.
do what you want to do
You
for what
do.
you want to do.
You
Which
wanna do-
okay, fine. But you bringing everybody into your melee, and
Yeah.
then be like, well, what happened?
And then back off really quick.
Right. Yeah. So like with rewatching the movies and the fact that Harper tried to like hook up with Jordan while he was still married to Robin in the show, I was just like, okay, you're trash. Like you shouldn't have asked Robin to marry you. I think you just did it because you caused all this drama.
Yep.
You saw your friends happy. And then Robin or Jordan kind of gave you her blessing by being like, she's the one, Harp. Sorry, I just rewatched the first movie.
Yeah, that's the part I didn't like. So if Jordan said that to Harper then in the movies, why didn't she fully move on herself then? That's the part it's like you see him moving on.
She did move on. She just didn't find the right person. I mean, if you
She gave
you
nobody
think
the right chance. She didn't. I was really upset that they didn't bring that white guy from the movie of Best Holiday.
I was too. I loved him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
wasn't
you
expecting to
guys
see
know
him
that's
back.
Brandy Glanville's husband.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Is
Yeah.
that Eddie Cibrian?
Yes, that's Eddie Cibrian.
Okay, yes.
Ex-husband.
This little
She
side,
listed it in episode 1 or 2.
Her
You know what I mean?
ex-husband.
little side
Yeah.
tea.
Leanne Rhymes' current
Leanne
husband.
Leanne
Rhymes.
Rhymes is
Yeah.
now with him.
Go back to episode
Discuss that.
4 of Date with the Divas when we talked about that.
How apropos.
Right. Yeah, he could at least been in episode 1 or 2 so we can see the breakup or something. Because they look so
Yes.
together during the movie that I'm like, really?
I didn't believe it in Holiday. I didn't
You
see it.
didn't?
I was like, I
Nope.
think because it was her to me, I feel like it was her first real relationship, and it was just like, nah, you're just filling this out. You're just you're getting a sense of what it is to be yourself in your career and your relationship. I didn't see it for them. I was not surprised or disappointed that he didn't show back up.
But so that's a part of the her progression that I didn't like is like, so she did her whole work thing great, but like being vulnerable with men, I wish we could have saw that progression of her realizing that and doing that a little bit. Yeah. Instead of holding out for Harper only. Like, really? He's literally with somebody else for 17 plus years, girl.
Yeah.
If you love somebody, you love that person.
Right.
They would have saved a lot of people if they'd have just been honest about it.
I just don't think they were ready for each other at that
I
time. because
agree.
Jordan
They
was
still ain't
very-
ready for each other.
Jordan was very career and self-focused, and Harper was very career and
They're
self-focused.
both very selfish people.
And Harper
Yeah.
needed somebody that was going to support his dream. And a lot of men make that choice. I think that's why
And that's why he went with Robin, because he knew
Yeah.
that Robin was going to be the step over, the
Mhm.
step on that was going to put whatever she had on pause to support, which is the next character, which I had a problem with. Because
you.
all of a sudden you was all about, first of all, you was inconsistent, la birds, flowers, peace be you,
Yeah.
just very love child in terms of she just had so much stuff going on as it related.
He was
to
right when he said that. She was very fly away
Right.
with all her.
And you know what? They
choices.
addressed that in the first movie too.
Yes,
Before
exactly.
she met the group,
But then-
Lance was like, "Oh, your girl, don't she do this? Don't she do that? Blah blah blah." And then Harp was like, "Oh no, it took her a while to find herself. She's a chef."
Right.
So I was happy that they kind of brought that back and stayed true to
Yes.
that. It was like,
Yes.
don't throw us something new, like. But yeah, so go on, Lava.
She, I didn't like, the fact that the chef and her being for the community was all good. And it was like, all of a sudden, now you want to gain some balls and you did it the wrong way.
I
You did
think,
it the wrong way.
here's
But
my
I felt
thought.
that she did it the only way she knew how because she didn't know what to do.
Everything was pent up.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I think it built up.
Right.
I think
Right.
that
And she was very resentful.
Yeah.
Very resentful because she never opened her mouth and expected him to be a mind reader when you not
But
opening
a
your
lot of
mouth.
women do
But don't
that.
a lot of women in long-term
Or men do
marriages
that
find
too.
themselves in that situation.
But I think
Yes.
she did. I think there were things she opened her mouth about because she was doing some of the things that she wanted to do.
It took a minute though.
To me, it was like when the guy at the farmer's market that was selling her the mushrooms, when he took her to that building and was like, "Oh, don't you want to buy this as your restaurant?" I felt like that was the turning point.
Me too.
And when he said, "Oh," because he took her to the place and she's like, "Why are you bringing me here?" And he was like, "Oh, don't you want to open your own restaurant where people just pay what they can and stuff?" To me, it felt like he reminded her of that. Like she wasn't even thinking about that. And then in the next scene, she's like, "Oh my God, Harp, we really need to get this building that your husband's never seen. And he's gonna be
Thank
spending
you.
money on it." And then you never came back to it. It was never like,
Thank you.
I mean, you never were
Yeah,
like,
but that's
"Oh,
the
we didn't
character.
She didn't remind him.
but let me go do something else. Let me get
And what
another
she does is she goes, it's done, and she goes to his opening and everything is gravy. Like
Right.
she sit in the back of the car and you're like, "Oh, it's so exciting for you and everything is gravy for you and blah blah blah." But this is why to me, I'm like, you're still flighty out there. You don't know what you want.
Right. I think she just wanted it because her crush, we know she had a
Right.
crush on dude. I think he said something and she was just like, "Ooh, you know what, I should be doing this. And it's like, girl, where's the plan? Like, if you want to open a restaurant, where's the plan? Like, you're not always gonna get the first building.
She didn't want to rush. Well, she did. She didn't. I was going to say, remember when she was in Dominican Republic and all of a sudden that was home for her. She was with her
Exactly.
friends, like, she want to move there. And then fast forward, I'm like, wait, what happened to that? And now we going to Ghana or somewhere in Africa. I was like,
Ghana, yeah.
She's
Yeah.
a free spirit, guys. That's
Right,
what
and that's
Very much.
yeah,
Child,
she's a free spirit, and Harper is very much a planner and just like, you know, I
and
gotta have
focused
this plan.
and ambitious. Yeah.
Exactly. And so I think he put up with some of her stuff because he was even naming it. He was like, we do this, we do that, we do
Thank
this,
you.
and you don't need to keep up with this stuff. So no, I'm not going to rush into buying this building for you when
No,
it's just maybe a pet project.
he forgot all about the building. But then also when Jahaz said to her, "Are you going to jump on this building?" She didn't pick up the phone and call him and say, "Hey, what's going on with the building? Did you call the guy?" She just let that go. But the
Yeah.
only thing that she didn't follow through with when he was going through his list, she wasn't tending to the garden. So what? And all the things he listed were not anything that he backed her or supported her on. You wanted a subscription meal company. So she went out and did that. He didn't have shit to do with that. Maybe money.
I was gonna say, I think the money.
and it was the finance.
But to sit there and say that he did this for, oh, you wanted to do this, we did that, we didn't do it, she did it. And yes,
Well, but I don't-
everything you guys are calling her flighty for, they're all in the same box. She
No.
felt like she wanted to be in her culture, her people, Ghana, Dominican Republic, wherever they were, it's all the same.
No, I get what you're saying, Nicole, but I disagree to a point of how it was done. You know, like I agree with you saying where, you know, like, yeah, he didn't do anything for her when she was, you know, from one corner to the next corner. He probably didn't do it. He probably was just the front money for it, right?
Right.
But he couldn't have told you none of that if when he did front you for whatever money he did front you for, you were still doing it or doing something with it. Like, for example, she was doing her chef thing or what have you, and I don't know how far she got. She was working with the community and all of this stuff like this, right? Okay, fine. And then you come out just like one of you ladies said, I got a plan for a restaurant. But her plan for a restaurant, just like you said, only came when it was told to her about getting the restaurant. So that's what I mean by
You can't get an idea from another person.
I'm not
She
saying
didn't
you
have a
can't get an
business
idea.
plan.
You can, but that
He
was
knew she wanted
No,
the
but
restaurant.
no, come on now. This is business.
No, I'm
This is
saying he
business we're
inspired
doing.
her. She's like, yeah, I can open a restaurant. I think her issue with Harper was she backed him 1,000%
did.
every
did.
single thing he
Most
wanted
definitely.
to do. No
I
matter
agree.
how it affected their lives. If he wanted
Or
to
their
go
friendships
this
or whatever.
way,
She
they went
backed him.
that way. If he wanted to go that way, she went that way. His friends were her friends. She 1,000% backed this man, and she didn't feel like he did that for her.
I agree.
Agreed.
And
Without
I
her
agree.
asking.
Agreed.
That's what she was saying. He didn't have to ask her. She
Mm.
thought about
Exactly.
him all the time.
I agree.
He never gave her a thought.
That's exactly.
Agreed. But we
Okay.
see this, a lot of women do this. Go ahead, Michelle, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, you learn I was very frustrated with Robin's character. And it comes out in therapy, you know, because she's, you know,
Mhm.
she's like, you see how he's reacting. He's so defensive. And it comes out that she doesn't know how to communicate with her
Communicate.
husband. So
Exactly.
this guy, Jaha, knew, right, that she wanted to open this restaurant. Yet her husband
Didn't.
did not.
Yeah.
So
Because he
there's
had
a
no time
communication.
for her.
Mhm.
He had no time for her. He had
Yeah.
he was just breezing through. So she spent most of her time with the children. I agree with you. She did communicate with him because Jaha gave her the time. Harper gave her no time unless it was working toward his project. He had no time for her.
But she internalized most of it though.
Exactly.
Right.
And plus her
I
crush
agree.
on him
Mhm.
also helped her
Can-
open up to him more too. Like,
I was like, she about to have an affair. I was like,
I
please
know
don't,
that's
Robin.
what I
Please don't.
thought when he came to give
I
her the
thought-
heaters. On to another character I want to ask y'all about. We touched on this a little bit in pre-production last week. Shelby. You know, Shelby for the original movie, she was just the bitch that like didn't really interact with the group. The second movie, they kind of brought her in and was like, oh yeah, she's a friend of Mia's. And we got to see a lot more of Shelby in the final chapters.
I thought she was kind of
Grew
the
to be one of
star
my
of
favorite
the
characters.
final chapters.
I agree.
Right. I agree.
He was. I
agree.
liked her character. I
Yeah,
actually
well,
really
she-
liked it. Yeah.
she
Shelby
saw
was
what
my
she wanted.
favorite. Shelby and Quentin, ironically, were my favorite characters from the beginning.
From the beginning to the end.
They were the most real.
Yes.
That's true.
The only
Yes.
part that was fake. Let me point it out to you. You have a daughter for
Where?
10
Point
years
it,
that I hear
point
from
it.
you. What's your reaction? Nothing? Come on now.
Right.
Those two people
Oh,
fight
yeah.
all the damn time.
Right.
I
Yeah.
was thinking the same thing. I was like, that's not realistic because he should have went off on her when
But
he
you know
found
what?
out that was his
He
daughter.
knew.
And she told
He
Quentin that
knew.
That Quentin,
what-
he knew.
Quentin
He
knew.
knew that was his daughter.
No, he didn't.
No,
No,
he
he
did not.
He
Yes,
knew.
he
And
did. He
he
said in the
backed
thing, he looked at
Even
her.
if he knew deep down, he knew that what she did was not right.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Come on
No,
now.
she
He
even
reacted.
said to him that that wasn't his daughter. So what are you supposed to go off of?
right.
And he's calling, and the daughter is calling him uncle. So the fact that then she just dropped, oh, this is your daughter. Any other man would have turned left and said, "What the f?" Like,
Right. He was just
That
like,
to me
oh,
wasn't
okay, let's
realistic.
call her.
yeah, that
Out of
wasn't
sight,
realistic.
out of
to me.
mind.
Yeah. Well,
Well, if he's
go ahead, Nicole.
Go ahead. If he was in love with the wife, the mother, then he's not going to have any objection to finding out that her child is his child.
Right.
I don't think it was a rejection. It's just that it's not the natural reaction I think you would have given, regardless
Right.
if you're in love with this.
Of
person.
finding out
I
that
mean,
secret, that
but
she kept it a
the
secret.
that she
Because
kept this a secret.
Because remember, he had a connection with her, with
Wait
the
a minute,
child.
you guys, we don't know what his reaction was. She said it literally in the last moment of the episode 2, didn't she?
Yeah, when they were on the phone.
and then he was like, let's call
That's
her.
how his facial expression
You know,
though.
it's all
That's how
on
his facial
FaceTime.
expression.
Remember
That's what I'm saying. Because that
FaceTime,
facial expression should have been like,
But they
I
may
mean-
have had a courageous conversation later about it.
they would have showed that because that would have
Okay,
been
now
some
you're
drama.
doing
That would have
Nicole
been
here.
some tea.
Nah, Nicole is
I
like,
think-
I didn't think it was that big a plot point to be truthful.
I,
You want another plot point that they okay? Yes, the relationship was great. Okay, so for me, I was expecting after marriage because they've always been, fire and sex and this and that. So after marriage, they're both calm and know how to communicate correctly. Where's the drama at with the two of them? You don't automatically change your personality once you get married.
And they were the
to be
best couple
right
throughout the
person.
whole movie.
Wait,
which
wait,
I
wait,
thought-
Alicia,
And I loved it.
remember, they got married in 2013, and then this story skipped 10 years.
They
That was
grew a
ridiculous
lot.
too.
So
That's
when we
ridiculous
caught
portion
back
too.
up with them, they were 10 years into their marriage. I would assume you calmed down at some point, right?
And figure
Right,
it
this was a
out.
disservice to us then.
And
They
they
didn't
didn't
calm
have to
down
fight
that long,
anymore.
but-
They both
Right, because they
admitted
were
how they
together.
actually felt.
Felt.
Right. I agree with you,
There
Nicole.
was-
Yes.
So there was
Yes,
no
they
reason
both
for
been how
them
they
to
actually
be
felt. That
at
don't
odds.
mean if you're attracted to a fiery person, it still keeps happening.
He
You
was
argue about
still
stupid stuff.
fiery, and he was still fiery. I just think they didn't have to be
Fire.
fiery with each other.
But to me, I felt like they were that yin yang kind of thing,
Yeah.
like they melted together. I think they
Because they
worked
knew
very
that each
well.
other, they were both on 10. They were both
Like
messed up.
she put it this way, they both knew each other's bullshit because
Exactly.
they didn't like when he couldn't eat anymore. When he had after he had his attack.
Hard attack.
His heart
Heart
attack,
attack.
and then he was trying to get the burger from the daughter, and she was like, "No, mommy said you pay me more if I
Yeah.
don't give you." Like they knew
They
each
knew
other.
exactly.
Yeah.
Even when he was I think when the show went awry and he had a conversation with her, he was like, "What are we doing?" He was
Right.
like, "You fabulous.
Yeah.
Be fabulous."
Yeah.
They
I
knew
really
each other
She was
very
fabulous. Her
well.
wardrobe was sick.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
What?
Michelle, do you have a
Your
picture of her in that
wardrobe was
New Year's Eve
yes.
dress?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
OMG.
Her wardrobe was sick.
Do
She
you
was
know,
banging throughout the whole
Lava,
movie.
do you know she is the oldest of all the actresses? And I
I
felt
believe
like
it,
she
and
looked
she,
the
Oh, I
best.
did not
she
know that.
She
represented
put them to shame.
she put-
Thank you. Thank you. OMG. She looked
that dress
amazing.
was banging.
Yeah, that's
Did
a
you-
hot dress.
Yo, that dress was banging. You don't understand. I was taking snapshots. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Her dress was banging. I was texting Joe, and I was just like, did you see this dress? I need you to find me this dress. I need you to find me this dress.
And she lived up to her character as she was supposed to be an ex-housewife. I think she
Yeah.
lived up to it, but
Did.
then when
Yeah.
they showed like her softer side, like I really liked when they went to go check on Quentin's father, like when
Mhm.
Quentin was like, we gotta go
That
check
dress
on my
was banging,
dad.
that sweater dress was banging too. Sorry.
You know, yeah, when he was like, we got to go check on my dad, the fact that she was just like, it just
Yes.
showed a really sensitive side to her.
Yes, yes. And even like, you know, when she was when Jordan got her to be on her show, I
Yes.
really felt like she could have still been her flamboyant self, but still been on the show because remember she still had a brain, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
Yep.
and I think she did. I think she was still where it was. She was being too much housewife on the show at first, just telling
Right.
people like,
Yes.
go stick this up your ass or whatever she said,
Ratchet.
something like that.
Right.
And then it was like, no, show your intelligent side, but still be feisty.
But she just went completely to the opposite side
Yeah,
because she
because then she
came
put
on
on
with the
glasses,
glasses
and then
and made
she
herself
changed the
look
whole look.
dowdy, you know, like
Yeah.
I
she
like to
had
believe that she was still feisty.
Well,
That
well,
she
That's
still
not what the
bought
show
the
showed you.
what was she, the notorious SH Shelby.
yeah.
I liked it, yo. But yo, all I can say is her wardrobe was
My favorite character was the one that resonated with me was actually Merch.
Okay, I
And
was gonna ask about him.
he says something in the movie, and I like the quote so much that I
You wrote it down.
texted it to a friend of mine. But he says in the movie, sometimes I just want to roar, right? Because he
Mm.
seems very invisible. And
Right.
his
Mhm.
character resonated with me because there are times where you just kind of have to take it and
Yeah.
internalize it. And I felt really bad for him when that Karen accuses him and he goes through those visions or like these scenarios in
That was
his
so funny.
head. That was
Right.
funny to me.
Yes.
Karen.
And
Yes, the Karen.
I did not like him in the beginning because in the first episode he was kind of a jerk, right? He was like,
Mhm.
a best man would do this and a best
Oh, I
man would
forgot all
do that.
about
Oh.
that.
And
That
I'm
was
like,
his character.
what an obnoxious person. And then he grew on me. And, you know, in the end, I was like really rooting for him and for Candace.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
And
like
that
them
was the
as a
most realistic
Girl,
couple.
her
of the week.
wigs. Oh Lord.
Wait,
Oh,
Michelle,
Lord.
are you
Thank
kickboxing?
Marilyn? Her hair,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
her hair.
That was a
Okay.
wig.
Let's get into the
Whatever it
mess.
was. See, when we
Okay.
started
Yes,
off with this
here's
one, I was okay.
This
Yes,
one I
Yeah.
thought was okay,
Yeah,
Yeah.
she
And
looked
then
very
she had
pretty.
one when she
Yeah.
at one
but
point
when
she
she
had like
went
a little-
natural,
oh my gosh. I was
Look at
like,
that.
what we doing?
But
I
they ran
wonder
out
if
of
they were-
budget
For her.
I think
I
her,
wonder
yeah.
if they're just trying to
I
show
think
she
it
was so
trying to
busy.
I think they were trying to show her progression, how she was like so like, you know, methodical as it related to the school. And now she was doing this homeopathic type, you know, whatever. But you don't have to be wild bush woman.
I know.
I
You can be
liked
bush
her
woman, but
natural
it could look
hair.
realistic. It
Yeah, it didn't
looked
look
like
real.
someone
Thank you.
sat a
I don't
mess
mind the
on
naturalness,
top
but could
of
we-
It
her
was
head.
a really bad wig.
Wig.
Just
Yeah.
that-
We could
It
have
was
did
really
something better. Than that.
distracting. Like it was that bad.
Very.
And it was
Okay.
hard for me to focus on what she was saying sometimes.
Oh wow.
I'm like, girl, why didn't they do your hair for this?
Oh
scene?
my gosh.
Zia
Barbara.
Mora, she was so funny.
Her line
I-
that she said to Shelby was, "Oh my goodness."
Oh
Oh, what is
yeah.
it that you're
Disgusting.
eating? That
Yes.
you're tasting?
Yeah, how's
Yes.
my
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
like
know.
even though she was
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead, Aunt Teresa. It's so good.
I was
It's
just
okay.
changing the subject, so go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, even though it was, we didn't get to see her for long. Her parts, especially with her and Shelby, were very like I
Mhm.
liked
In your
it. You know,
face.
she was in your face. Yeah,
She was
I
the only
like
one that
that.
could go toe to toe with Shelby.
Yes.
Yes,
No,
yes.
when Harper got Shelby her ticket home and said you're embarrassing yourself, and then Nicole R.E. Parker came in with the 1-2. I thought
Yes.
Shelby was. I thought it was
Me
over for
too.
Shelby.
Me too.
Too.
I was so
She
happy.
was like, "What? You slept with my man and what?"
But Shelby was out of pocket. I mean,
Oh,
Yeah.
for
to
sure.
come to even to show up. I mean, knowing the history,
But
you
it's-
don't
Get
do
her
that, but
man.
you know,
That was her purpose. Was to
She
get
was
her
like,
man.
I'm
That's
not
right.
doing
You allowed
a
it.
harp thing.
yeah.
She's like, we
It
gonna
worked.
Maybe Jordan
came-
needs to take
he
some of
came-
her writings from her book. So
Right.
What I loved, I don't know if you guys peeped this, was that Candace and Merch helped her try to get.
Oh, what
Yeah.
they did.
Oh yeah.
And she was like, oh, I did. She said, that girl is flexible. I like that.
Yeah,
And I
she
thought
heard
it was a
that.
good reminder of how Harold and Candace met.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Shelby
then
had a
I
mission and she was
like some of you
successful.
rewatched 1 and 2 the night before.
Mhm.
And Regina Hall and Candace and Shelby have a huge fight in the Best Man
Yes.
Holiday.
Yeah, physical
She
fight.
comes to the Best Man Holiday trying to start trouble with Candace and Julian.
Right.
So it was interesting that just a few months later, Julian and Candace are helping her get Quentin.
Well, she bribed
not
Candace,
too much.
remember?
It was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she
It was
bribed
a
her
few
with
months
the
later. It was
the-
2013, the same year as the Best Man Holiday.
you said something, Lavelle?
I said she came to slay. She came to get her man, and she did what she had to do. She was fiery, feisty. You
Yeah.
know, props. That's what we need to do.
Yeah.
worked
But
out
I
for
do,
her.
I do respect that when she realized she thought it was over. She was like, she did everything she could do, and she was like, okay, I'm gonna go home. Now, what
Right.
he did was different. He was like, hold on, wait, she went home. Hold up, no.
Right.
He
And I
wanted
love
her
how
to be
Harp
at the
was
wedding
like,
saying,
oh, you want to make
yeah,
sure?
yeah, because he knew that was all like, you're gonna move to Tibet, or maybe saying it wrong,
Right.
but,
He was
like you smoke
this is not you.
in a minute. Like, you don't smoke, you don't eat. I'm so confused.
Yeah.
You know?
He was like, this ain't you, bruh. I can't let you go out like that. He
And
was
I
kind of like,
think-
I went out
What you
like
guys say
that.
about Harper? Harper was a good friend.
Yeah, that was a good friend
Sometimes.
portion.
That's two
Sometimes.
different things. That was two different things, though. He was a good friend sometimes. I mean, no, I won't say
Depending on
sometimes.
how
He was
it
a good
related to
friend.
his advance.
Yeah.
Right.
He
You
was
know, but every
there
friendship has their
for
up
his
and down.
friends. His friends
He was.
came in his
was.
life.
For all of them, that's what I appreciate. Because even when Robin was, crying or whatever that was
And-
New Year's or Christmas,
Yes,
whatever.
that was the
party.
New Year. Was
And
that New
Lance
Year's?
called Harper.
Called
was
Like,
him.
gotta go. Lance is in trouble. Speaking of which, what did you guys think of the progression of Lance's character?
I liked it. I like
They
that
made
they
him. Yeah, sorry.
say what? Oh,
No,
I
when
like-
they showed him when he looked tore up on the floor, I kept saying that's not Lance.
when he had the beard and stuff.
He was horrible. I was like, I kept saying, was Lance not there and that his double or something? And then I was like, that was just he looked horrible. They made him look horrible.
But I did want to see what was hanging from that towel.
From the, yeah.
Mm,
I was like, he didn't look that bad.
right. I mean, yeah.
Because the
I like
body was
the thing
on
about
point,
Lance as a
Marilyn. You have to
father.
admit, the beard was raggedy, but the body was on point.
Oh no,
Yeah.
yeah. He actually progressed better looking as older
Oh, he-
than he was in
yes.
his younger Lance.
They
I
all
mean, and
did, as far as I'm
I've always
concerned.
been a more and that's like
What you say, Nicole?
Let's
Dr.
get to the nitty
Chocolate.
gritty. How was Lance as a father as it related to his
Contradictory.
He
I was just
wasn't.
about to say, thank you, Lavelle.
he wasn't, because he lost his wife and he just completely went left. He just checked out on his life.
He
and
even
the kid.
admitted it. Was like, I
Yeah.
can't go home. I can't be around the kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I mean, I guess he picked back up at some point. I think it was, for what they showed, mainly as a father, they showed like between him and LJ, and that was expected, that it was going to be that was going to go left once he found out that LJ
Right.
was non-binary. Like, that was expected. I actually think they resolved it a little fast, but I think that's what happens when you only have 8 episodes.
And LJ was
Okay.
slaying. Oh, I loved his character.
Yes.
Or
You think
her.
the whole OJ
she-
thing
I-
was out of the blue, or like
That
you suspected?
outfit
Because
was
the first when he
awesome.
first was interning with Jordan, I thought he had a crush on her assistant at first, the way they had him googling eyeing at her and stuff, and then I was
They
like,
knew, they set it up. We knew something was going to happen. And when she said, you can wear whatever you want, I
You
was like,
wanna
what's
wear.
going to happen? I didn't expect it to be that, though. Like, when she was like, you can wear whatever you want, I was like, something's gonna go
That
left.
was like a almost like a aha moment, like something.
Yes, and he was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm gonna wear it."
But I like the fact how all of his aunties and uncles were like, okay, this is what we're doing. All right,
Right.
we're good.
Yeah,
And they were all
And-
just like, does Lance know? Does Lance know? But I like the call, the three-way
Yes.
call.
Yeah, that
That was funny.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, no, that was good. And that's another testament of their friendship. Like, regardless what was going on, they were still jumping in there trying to help out, do what they could as much as they could.
yeah.
But you know what? I also, it wasn't until like towards the end that I realized the two kids, they focused on the first kid and the second kid did. The last two kids, the little boy and the one before.
I know.
Did you
Well,
notice
they
they didn't
totally
even give them
cut the other one
speaking
out.
parts? They
They
didn't
did
give
We
not
have enough
speaking
time
parts.
for all that. We better have enough time for Jordan's character. We ain't gonna have time for his kids. Come on.
Just saying. They popped up. It was like 1 minute they were there, and then she's like, "Oh, I want to do my mom's
Christmas
ornament.
tree, yeah.
Ornament. No one's helping me." But I was like, "But where they been? The other two little kids just
Was it all
disappeared.
four of them at the end? I thought it was only three of them.
No, it's
there was
four.
four.
One
Yeah,
did
I
the
was
four.
watching the best
later
man
on, but
holiday.
she
I was
came
like,
back
what
in the
happened to
picture.
other kid.
Yeah, when he got with the what was the character from the island?
Jasmine.
Yeah,
Oh, we have her
Jasmine.
picture too.
Yeah.
Oh, she was gorgeous. No, I loved her natural hair.
I would
Yeah,
have
she's-
appreciated a little bit more of that story. I felt like it got like
Yes.
tacked on
Yeah.
at the end, and I was like, wait, we spent a lot of time on her in episodes
Yeah.
1 and 2.
Yeah, I think that opens it up
Gorgeous.
if they want to do another series that opens
Yep.
it up to like more of
Yes,
him and
yeah.
her. But I appreciated that they let Lance be without being in a relationship, even though he was
Yes.
with
exactly.
a lot of women. Like
Yeah.
the fact
He
that
was
they like
slinging.
yeah, they let it be. And then, but when he met her and the way that she was acting towards him, she wasn't a groupie. I was like, oh, he's gonna go after her because that's
Yes.
the way Mia was
Exactly.
when they met in the first movie. Mia was just like, oh, well, your game could use blah blah blah, So I expected it to happen, but I kind of like that they waited, and
Yeah, I do kind of wish that they would have showed him having a therapy session, group, something a little bit more healthier outside of talking to women as your therapist. You know what I mean?
but I don't
Like,
think maybe he doesn't do therapy. Yeah, I mean, they showed him.
He doesn't seem like the therapy type person. He's
Yeah,
like
No.
he's
his
more the
actor.
pray about it type person, which
Yeah.
is what they showed and like, prayed about it and went to Mia's grave. I think that was
he could have talked to a pastor.
him. Huh?
We didn't see him talk to a pastor. You're so religious. We didn't see him talk to a pastor.
But you don't need to. You can talk to God.
Exactly. And that's what he was doing.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's in line with his character from like
Yeah.
the first two movies. It's like that was his thing because he was always telling Harper to pray. And like even when he wasn't gonna marry Mia, Harper was like, yo, let's pray. And then in the second
Yes.
movie, when he wasn't gonna play football on the day that Mia ended up passing, again, Harper was like, talk to him, you gotta pray it out. So I think that was in line with his character. I think a therapist is a little too forward for him, but I did kind of wonder, like, did him and LJ go to any kind of like talk to any
I just wanted
third
something else
party?
other than a woman. Like, because he leaned on it at the beginning part, it's like, okay, Denise Solo years.
That is
What you
his
doing?
therapy, is women.
I mean,
Yes.
yeah.
In one way or the
Because-
other.
That was his anchor, right? Mia was his anchor, right? And now we'll have Jasmine, who will probably be that too,
Mhm.
because she
I
kind of.
thought his relationship with Mia was a little on the immature side. Like he had idealized her as this goddess.
Yes.
Like he wasn't relating
Mhm.
to her as like a real woman.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
would have appreciated to see the progression of his character and how he was relating to this new, who she was a full-grown woman with a whole life of her own. I
Mm,
would have appreciated seeing a difference there, but
Yeah.
okay.
But I
Never thought of
thought
it that
that's
way.
why, I mean, I agree with Marnita that I'm glad that they didn't get together while he was there for Quentin's
Right.
wedding, and that they, several years had gone by. It was, he respected her enough to stay away from her,
But
right?
call
Even
her,
though
still communicate with her.
no, well, but he didn't call her until after
Yes.
Quentin
And that was by
said,
mistake.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
after Quentin let it slip that she may not be
Mary.
Right.
married.
Right. Yeah.
I also agreed with Marnita's earlier point that the LJ and Lance thing was resolved rather quickly.
Kinda
They
quick.
needed an arc, right?
Yeah.
That's what it
Right.
is in the film.
Yeah, that
I
was
tell it
kind of
going to.
interesting.
It was very predictable, that part.
Well, I was afraid the kid had killed himself.
Right.
I didn't think that I didn't think that was going to happen, but I knew that the friend of his was going to assist somehow, some sort of way. But I appreciate the fact that that he went back to the church, that he, and the whole explanation of why is it that this God, the father that you told me to always be, can accept me, but you cannot. And that resonated, and he was still in church. He still followed what his father wanted him to do, and how he raised him. But I liked how it kind of circled back to the church and God being just this person that is going to be accepting, is going to accept you into his house, regardless of how you are, what you look like, or anything. So I appreciated that.
I will say, since we kind of went through March pretty fast, when he brought up about when the movie premiere happened.
Yes.
And they kind of brushed over the fact that Harper didn't get a chance to mend fences without him being offended.
I think he was the one that told him, you need to speak to Murch. You hurt his feelings.
You know what? You're right, because Murch had the secret life when he started kickboxing. And then all of a sudden, the guys are at his kickboxing match.
Right.
That was one of the things that I was like, okay, what happened there? That, again, I understand you only have 8 episodes. You got to like show it, but where did this, where did it come in that they know you're doing this? When did you and Harper have this conversation? Or didn't you? Or maybe you didn't.
Wasn't it? One of the kids saw him on
TV. Yeah, I think that's how it was, and that's how they ended up.
That's how they found out.
Well,
but
that's
the
mom.
That's
how the wife
already
found
there.
Out. They didn't get into how the guys.
Yeah, because remember, she got there and they were watching.
And they were there.
I think my assumption was she told them. Like, it was out now. Then when the wife.
No.
Either way, they still didn't resolve the situation.
Yeah, my issue was that I felt like Harper and Murch should have had a conversation.
Right. Yes.
Agreed.
And maybe that's why Murch went off on him when Robin confronted, when they were getting ready to go to the retirement
They had that
ceremony.
big argument.
And Robin came in and confronted Harp, and then Murch confronted Harp too and was like, you always do what's best for you. You're so selfish or whatever.
Yes.
I think
that was poignant right there to
me.
But shouldn't a person do what's best for them? I love that that's an insult to.
I think
no,
but
you're taking it you're taking the statement very
my life. I'm doing what's best for me.
So let me say that
you pulling everybody along with you. You pulling everybody.
They're choosing to.
What's best for you, and I'm supposed to do what's best for me. I'm not. In that instance, they were.
But not while you're pretending to be considerate of someone else.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Be considerate of you and still do what's best for me. In the end,
but you're taking it as a flat statement. There's more to it than doing what's best for me.
Up to it. It's like, okay, in that instance, they were talking about Harp going for custody of his daughter, which I totally understood. That one I understood. But just going back to everything else that has happened, like you wrote a book about all of us and put our secrets in there, and then was like, oh well. Lance and Mia was supposed to be married by the time the book came out. And, now and then he even like blames Jordan, like, oh, but she gave the book to everybody. And then in the second movie, when he's trying to sneak a bio about Lance without asking Lance, all you had to do was ask Lance, I'm having a hard time. Can we do this and that? No, now he found out and it blew up and everybody's uncomfortable. So I think that's what it is. It's like, you're just going out for yourself and including other people. It's not like what you're doing doesn't involve me.
But by this chapter 1, he asked everyone's permission for the movie.
That's why I was struggling with Murch. I know that he didn't like his character, but it was already in the book. Harper didn't have control over how the character dynamics would be.
But didn't somebody push back at him and say, like, you do have control? And that's him just sort of like,
control.
Well, I'm just saying, but still, you still have to acknowledge that his feelings were hurt. And
Murch never even presented it to him, though. That's the other issue. Murch didn't say, like, it was Quentin that said,
right.
No matter how he got the information, he knew it.
And they should, and goes back to what Antrese said, they should have had a conversation about
Yeah.
it. Like maybe Murch didn't expect the movie to hit him in that way, because Harper
Right.
did ask everybody like, hey, you know, they want to make it into a movie. And so it's like, you knew they were going to make it into a movie. You knew how you were perceived. You know, when the preview came out, maybe you should have been like, damn, man, I'm not going to go see your movie because I don't like the way that my character
Right.
is.
Was.
Portrayed.
Because the book was already out. You already knew how the book was, but the interpretation of how the film comes out,
And
now he's like in his feelings about it. So
Mhm.
yeah, they should have. I mean, there's not much you could have done about it because the movie's out there, but you still could have had a conversation with him about
Right.
it.
But I guess that goes back to men. No, we just set up a poker table and then
And that
everything's
just
cool.
resolved everything.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I will say I do wish that for Regina Hall's character, like, okay, outside of school, like what was she planning on doing with these herbs? Like I wish there was a little bit, because it was like 7 episodes of this whole school and herb stuff. Okay, can we get something else with you?
It was for her
But I think
The
daughter.
whole purpose
for her-
of her
she was
doing
doing it
that
for
was
her
for her
daughter.
daughter.
I
And
think-
finding an alternative medication because her daughter
Medication.
had really bad anxiety
Yeah.
instead of,
Yeah,
she
that was
was
a little
looking
weak.
for
A little weak.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. The storyline for that was a little weak.
I
'cause the only
think it
time we
was
get-
showing how dedicated she was. Like she finally found something she was dedicated to herself.
Thank
Like,
you.
okay, she started the school with Murch, but that was like more his thing. So she found this thing that she was dedicated to herself. And then I think with showing the professor, and Michelle, I know we have a picture of the professor that attempted to or did sexually assault her. It was just like showing her being like, damn, I thought I came all this way, and
And
you
I think
still just
that
wanted me for my body.
No, that
I agree with you, Marnita. I want
Oh.
to say, it's like when you think about the progression of her character, how she met Murch, and then she now became, you know, in the best man, the best
Yes.
holiday. Then
Mm.
it came out, you know, the fact of her,
Oh,
it came
sorry.
out, the people in the school found out that she, you know, was a stripper or whatever. And then here you are. It was just a progression of her showing kind of like, you know, I am, even when they took the drugs and the person talked to her and told her that she needed to kind of like be one and do what she needed to do, that I felt like she had an opportunity to kind of like just be a little bit more, I guess, I don't want to say significant because I thought that she was significant regardless,
Mhm.
but I think that to just show her progression that she was more
Not
than
just a
what
wife
she
and a
was in-
mother.
and yeah, and also not that stripper that she was in the beginning.
Right.
But I
And
think
being
that's the
just a
point that they
school
missed, because
person.
when she was stripping, she was paying for her school. It wasn't like that's what I believe was the backstory,
Yes.
that she was
Yeah, it
stripping to
was.
pay for her
That
school.
was the
A
backstory.
lot, that's no different than being a Hooters waitress or,
Right.
you know, other things, and just had that negative connotation. She was very smart and intelligent. She was doing what she needed to do to get her degree. And I think
Yeah.
that's the
But
piece where it was like,
But
wow.
even still, she didn't have that confidence because
Correct.
remember she was supposed to do the whole speech for her for the both
Exactly.
of them, and she didn't feel that she was worthy.
Deserving.
Yes,
I think that's where
Yeah.
she needed her self-esteem and her self-worth was
Yes.
low. And I think she, for whatever reason, because like I said, she had that, she went to get a degree and she got
Right.
it, which didn't make sense to me. That she had a lack of self-worth because she, I mean, like she thought of herself as a stripper and not being smart, even though you've gotten
That's
a
the
degree.
personification that, you know, society ends up doing. You could be as smart as whatever, but people just see the fact of you being a stripper. They're not going to think about it. They just see the stripper portion. And so sometimes you internalize that.
For as much schooling she had, she should have went and got some therapy.
Or became a therapist.
That's right.
I wonder what the goal was after school. Like the whole daughter thing, that was too weak of a just for that to be that. Because
I
I came
agree,
from
Elisa. It was
I
weak.
think ultimately was to put out like a line of medication that was going to support it wouldn't just for her daughter, but like also an alternative medication that's just not prescription prescribed, that could be a healthier version. Just more
That
of a
is not
natural
a
practice.
storyline.
Yeah. Because guess what? After they found their kids had taken this stuff or were tripping out, we didn't get no resolution after that. Like, well, did she change
Right.
type of
Yeah, when the
herbs
parent
to use or what? Like, you know.
Because I guess it would have been too much, but they could have probably just used the assault as a storyline for her or something. There was
But
more
there
to
wouldn't have
it,
been
you know?
an assault if she
So
wasn't.
if she wasn't in school, they had to give her a reason to be in there and be in that circumstance with that teacher, professor, working those kind of hours where she was like, okay, I need to get this, you know.
I didn't I didn't really have a problem with the storyline of this, it just,
Maybe
I think
they're
it was just
saving it
something
for later.
different. I was content with that storyline. I thought it was good, I thought it kind of showed the progression of like, I'm not just here for my body, and also just showing her trying to balance her family life with her professional life, and then trying to balance with Merch, but she didn't even know what was going on with him.
She was
So
so
question then.
enthralled in her.
I'm gonna play a little on the other side of the fence. So do you think Candace was selfish just as Harper then, or what?
No, because she didn't go around
No.
kissing him.
No, I don't think so. Because she cared for him. Because even when they were on the
That's
honeymoon trip, they were trying.
Yeah.
She wanted that to be their weekend and stuff like this. Remember?
Yeah.
And she also, I thought what I liked about their characters is that they checked each other somehow, some way throughout to kind of like keep their relationship at balance. So it was just like when she kept talking, she said, "Well, you keep talking about being his best man. I'm gonna need you to stop."
Yeah.
So it was kind of like it was this bickering that went on between them, but it was like keeping the balance between them too, showing like the normal progression of a married couple. Like everything's not bees and honey and all that other stuff, but for the most part is like it showed the fact that he was getting annoyed, like you're being selfish, and she's spending a whole lot of time doing this paper, but he still did what he was supposed to do. But she had her moment too, so I thought it showed a nice little balance.
And weren't they cute when they got high together? When they're high,
Yes.
Yeah.
You having an orgasm without me? Yeah.
Yeah. Before Shelby walked in for the quickie.
Yes.
Walked to the restaurant flashing.
I like that about their relationship.
Yes.
It was just like y'all are disgusting. When she was like meet up with him at different, the thing she was true to her character, and they were true to themselves. He was just like, he says I'm taking the blue pills. He was like, I can't keep up with this.
I really
like their daughter.
appreciate the. Go ahead.
I didn't like their daughter. She was a little brat.
I loved
know.
her.
She was
liked
Shelby
her.
I liked her when she was
2.0.
little.
Do you remember her when she said that? She was
Remind
Shelby
you of someone on
2.0.
Treat?
Yes, Shelby 2.0. You were right, Lavelle.
It
Yeah.
reminded me of her parents.
Yeah.
couple.
Combination of her parents, manipulative because they were both manipulative.
Yep.
Mhm.
Smart as a whip,
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
glamorous,
Did
self-centered.
you guys catch it when Merch's kids were like, "Oh, these other the other older kids, they make fun of us for being poor with our clothes." Did y'all catch that? Like,
Yeah, I do remember they were
poor.
They did say
Use the
poor.
word
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember those words, but
They're
didn't
not
want to
Instagram ready. That's
They're
what
not
it was.
Instagram
Instagram
ready.
ready.
Right.
That's
They
why they
call
didn't
it
go
like
to the
it's stressful going over to Shelby.
Yeah.
right.
Right. And you could tell that they had a financial issue just even when they talked about the vacation and to try to clean it up, like our other family vacations. I feel like that was their only vacation, even though they didn't have to pay for anything. They just had to the wardrobe for the resort. I mean, it's not like that school wasn't like they were, really rich from the school. It was a passion.
that day
To live like that in New York, you are making some really good.
Remember when Merch
In
came in?
comparison to everyone else.
Right. I'm just saying.
I didn't want to go to the ballet.
And Julian had a beautiful brownstone.
We don't know if he was renting it.
Even if you're renting it in New York, that's
In New York,
upward of
yeah, it didn't-
$9,000 a month.
The view of where they were living did not match the story. I get it.
I feel like
But
that
I
happens
do
a lot.
believe that their income was not the same as the rest.
So
Right.
not as the same as Shelby and
Yeah.
Yes.
for sure.
What I really like just in the whole episode, how they touched on so many of today's issues,
Yes.
like menopause, the Karen issue, infidelity,
Sexuality,
the child
yeah.
support, sexuality,
Sexuality.
even going through the divorce and fighting for custody of your kid, and how that, like, I
Yes.
didn't like how she kind of underhandedly said she was going out of the country. I thought that was low, but that
Yeah,
happened.
I was gonna ask about that.
I thought it was
just-
wrong. I don't think you take somebody's child out of the country.
No, I agree. I think it was
crying.
wrong,
She
but
didn't want
that's
to go.
right. I agree that was wrong, but I was like, that's kind of how things happen in today's society. So I think that's where I was like, I really respect.
And the way she brought it up,
it's
too.
not
The way she-
uncommon, put it that way.
Right.
That way, I agree.
It's like that should have been a conversation of like,
Right.
how is this going to affect us? How are we going to do? It was just, but that goes with her character. She was very, like we saw in the beginning, like you said, she did the meditation, and it was like, I
It
am
was doing
home.
her entrees.
And she,
Yes.
she's like, I'm
Yeah,
just
but that
gonna.
was like not a child.
Okay, let's face it. He was so busy working, he wasn't home. Remember, the heat was
That's
broken.
right.
He was nowhere to be found.
He
So
couldn't
she
have
was
been
like,
there
"You
for
ain't
his
home
child.
anyway, so I might as well take my daughter and live my best life."
Oh,
I was just
I
only
just
for a
thought
few
that,
months,
still
LaBelle.
saying that he
Drop it,
shouldn't
okay?
be
He was
able
doing the
to-
movie.
but okay,
Wouldn't be able to visit her. There's no
you know what?
visitation rights. with that.
When she got arrested too, I forgot about that.
Oh
Yes.
She got arrested and the daughter was there. It was like,
Yes.
I understand that you have every right to be there and you're fighting for a good cause, but maybe that was the time to walk away and be like, honey, this is a lesson. Like, if you weren't with me, maybe I would have stayed, but you are my first priority and I have to make sure.
I agree.
Yeah, but I think a lot of freedom fighters have their kids out there with them, and that's the
That's-
lesson of that they want their
Yeah.
kids to learn is that you fight.
And it was
Yeah, but
Yeah,
they don't allow them
I-
to get arrested.
Didn't Portia Williams from Atlanta?
yes.
I don't think her daughter was with her.
No, she was on the bridge with her grandfather.
Oh yeah. I was talking about when she got arrested.
No, but she learned that from her grandfather.
Right.
Yes.
And I mean, I don't know. I think with today, I mean, and maybe today it's not any worse than, it's just, I agreed with her
Yes.
in that instance.
Girl, they put
that
the
it was
dogs
like,
on us back then.
True. That like, it was like, okay, I understand you're trying to show your daughter was right. And like, even when the daughter went up and gave the homeless man her sandwich at the end, and he was like, Harper's like, oh, she has your spirit. But how do you balance that with being like, okay, I have to make sure she's safe, or, saying I want to go to Ghana, but the girl's in the backseat crying and saying like, daddy, come with me, which, hey, maybe he could have came. She did have a point where she said, you can write from anywhere.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
probably would have
We're
wrote another
divorced. Why am I
hit.
moving to Ghana? We divorced at this point. Like,
But
Right,
for
they
your
were-
daughter, though. Not for her, for your daughter.
It's a whole nother country. I mean, it's a big consideration.
Yeah. Yeah. And then again, too, he could be thinking this is another fly by night thing you're doing.
Right.
know?
Very true. So
was he really hoping that he wouldn't come? Because I bet you $5 that street vendor was there, that guy.
we'll
There.
find out. We'll
Jaha.
find out if Mr. Mushroom was there.
Yes, Mr. Mushroom.
Mushrooms, as she was saying.
Now she found her another Ghanaian.
Mhm. She fly by night. She got one here, got one there.
So do you guys think that Jordan and Harper end up together?
Well, yes,
Yeah,
because
they
that last
teased it.
scene, she's sitting in the audience when he's giving his lecture or getting his award or whatever it was.
His
I think
Pulitzer.
they
And
were.
But they were
They-
all there.
they were
Yeah,
all
they
there,
were
but
there.
on the first
were all
screen,
there.
she said
Oh.
your soulmate, and they showed her.
Yes. And they pointed to her. Yeah.
So, but I am curious to see if that works out. Is it going to work out,
See-
or is it like, oh, you know what? The moment has passed. We thought we wanted to be together, and it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I
I
am
thought when they
interested.
were on the bridge, Harper was clear that he loved Jordan and that he wanted to be with Jordan.
Yep.
And
I was
the
like, you
other
should do that 2
women
years ago.
were constantly making comments that Jordan loves Harper. Weren't they
Mhm.
always
Oh,
like shady
Shelby.
girls?
When
Yes,
she
they
said, oh yeah,
were.
support your man, support your man.
Yeah. I also liked when Shelby told Jordan, she was like, we all know something happened between you guys that night, but I like
Yep.
Robin, and Robin likes being married, so you better take that to your grave. It was like, I'm still
Right.
being your
I
friend.
think they had
but I'm
sex
telling
and
you,
she
you were
thought
wrong.
she got pregnant.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
I
okay,
thought
I
they
was a little
just kissed.
confused
They
because
just
didn't
kissed.
She
she?
was
They
thinking
just-
about them having sex.
She was.
Okay, thinking about it and actually doing it.
With Harper, you never know. Remember in the beginning, the first movie, they did, they didn't. He said he made it out like it was him and Jordan, but it was really him and Mia. But in his mind, he was picturing Jordan, and then it was Mia.
Right.
Harper played those games with us.
Right. They might want to do a part 2. Would y'all watch if there's
Sure.
another
I would.
season? Okay.
As
Unless
long
they
as
left it
it's-
open.
if the cast is there, the same cast, they ain't trying
Right.
to change nobody out.
Viewers, let us know. Would y'all watch?
Writer gets
Y'all
broke
like this?
again. He needs some more money. Yeah, there'll be another one.
I'm available for consulting on plot lines if you need me.
I will say this: it's in the blogs that Terrence Howard is quit acting, but I'm sure he'll come back for the
He'll
right.
come back
Well,
for
he
this.
said he would come back for this. he said he came out of retirement for this, and that's the only reason.
I got one more question for y'all. So this seems to be a trend. You know, we talked about and just like that, the Sex and the City kind of reboot. So we've had The Best Man come out in this limited series. Is there any other movie or show that has been off air that you want to see come back? Girlfriends. But okay, would you bring Tony Childs back though?
Yeah, she said she would come back.
Okay.
Living Single, yeah.
Joe was shaking her head because Joe didn't watch Girlfriends.
Why didn't you watch Girlfriends?
Yeah, that was just
Girlfriends
wasn't
annoyed me, but I still
I had no interest in it. I really did not.
Yeah, and I didn't either. It wasn't until like it was like on like repeats and late at night, and I was just like, oh, I'm watching TV. Let me kind of like catch up on this, and everyone talked about it, but it wasn't something that I watched.
I like Living Single.
I did Living Single more, like followed it versus Girlfriends was kind of like if I happen to be watching TV and it came across, I may sit and watch, and sometimes I'm like, and fast forward.
Oh, you know what? I like to see a different world.
A different world.
I think I'd like to see like what's
People are old.
Lane now.
They don't look good. They don't look. They didn't age as well.
They didn't age well.
You know, Marnita, the Different World cast didn't age quite as well as the Best Man cast did.
That's very true. That's very true. I think.
Are they around the same age, or the Different World people are older? Right?
I think they're older. Different World is older.
All right.
And Jasmine Guy was the
some of them did age okay. It's just some of
the younger class.
Now, you know, the actress Melissa DeSosa, is that her name?
Yeah.
She's 55.
Oh, okay.
And
he's the oldest, right?
No, Julian is 59.
Oh, okay.
And he looks great.
Oh,
Julian's 59?
Yes, he's the oldest of the cast, actually.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
But they're all in their 50s, all of them.
Their chemistry, it seems like, as actors in the movie went well as their characters in real life.
Yeah.
And I think that's why probably everyone loves the series, because they gel so well together.
You know,
I'm telling you guys, Girlfriends is the next reboot. I'm telling you.
I know people have been talking about it a lot.
Yeah, I have heard that. Yeah, that
you seem to know. Okay, well,
the four of them did a podcast recently. They were all together, and they are all in on it. They're all excited about it. They're here.
Okay.
And there will probably be a more chance for them to do it, right? Because they're still friendly together. Like, it's still, so.
Yeah. So viewers, let us know what y'all want to see. Are y'all gonna watch the Girlfriends reboot? If that comes back, we will definitely recap that. Maybe Joe won't be there.
All right. Maybe if it was like Will and Grace.
Yeah, drink her water and mind her business.
Or
maybe Will and Grace got a reboot.
Yeah.
That's true. They did. All right, Divas. It's been a fun evening recapping The Best Man final chapters. A reminder to everyone watching. First of all, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Get in on the conversation. Let us know if there's any other shows or movies you want us to recap. All right. So with that being said, good night, Divas.
Happy New
Good
Year.
night.
Happy New Year.